Welcome to this detail-oriented episode of the Mazza's Musings podcast. This week, we are taking a look at Destination D23 and some of the major announcements that came out of that, and some of the details on some of the projects and things that they unveiled at Destination D23. Eileen joins me for this episode to help me out with all of this, and we kind of each give our own perspectives as to where we think these things are going and how they, resonate with us. But before we get into any of that, let's laugh.
And now it's time for Meghan's
Cuckoo bananas. Joke.
Hi, Meghan.
Hi.
Do you have a joke for us today?
Yes.
Okay, let's hear it.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Sandy.
Sandy who?
Sandy Claus. I am a crab, so teeny, small, and crabby.
Yeah,
I am a crab, so teeny, small, and crabby.
And so do crabs get visited by Sandy Claus because they're at the beach?
I don't know. I am a crab, so small and crabby.
Okay.
So small and crabby.
All right, small crabby girl. It's time to say goodnight.
Good night. I am a crab, so I love to be a crab. What is the thing about being a crab? The dog came. Dogs chase me away.
Dogs chase crabs? I thought that dogs chase cats.
Dogs chase crabs because the cat is chasing the crab.
Okay.
And the dog is actually just chasing the cat.
Okay, this has gone off the rails. Say goodnight, please.
Goody nighty. Goody nighty. Goody nighty. Good nighty. Good nighty.
All right. Well, Meghan once again is bringing the jokes and a little bit of extra silliness each and every week. There was also a silly amount of news that came out of D23. So we're not going to waste any more time. We're going to get right into it and really dig into some of those details from Destination D23.
Ah, there you are. And just in time.
Mom says there's even more magical stuff now.
For those of you standing, please hold on to the handrails throughout our journey and stay clear of the doors.
Hang on to them hats and glasses, cause this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness. And here we go!
All right, Eileen is back with me again for another episode, and this time, D23, Destination D23, which is a much smaller thing than the actual D23 Expo or whatever they call it now. But it took place this past weekend in Walt Disney World, and there was an opportunity for some people to kind of unveil some things, so either new projects or some things that have been talked about before, but now there are more details about. So it's basically kind of, honestly, a little bit of a filler in between the actual D23 expos where you get the big stuff. But there were still some interesting things that came out of it. So I thought that we would take this one to kind of talk about some of these things. And basically, we're going to be kind of live reacting to them. A lot of these I didn't hear about, or at least know a lot about, until I actually started putting the list together. So these are fairly fresh for me as well. You're hearing probably a lot about this.
Aside
Eileen?
from what I've seen shared on socials where I've read a quick caption but not really gone into it any further. I didn't click on any links, we'll put it that
Sure.
way.
And so, and I'm just giving snapshots of this too. So some of this stuff may be stuff that you've already seen, but we're both going to give kind of our reactions to it. And this isn't everything. Now, they did cover a lot of different things, and some of it is stuff that isn't really either relevant to us. So it may not all be the biggest news, but it's the biggest news that's relevant to us. So it's mostly entertainment stuff, and not even all the entertainment stuff. Like they had, some Marvel updates that really don't apply to us because we're not big Marvel people. But there were plenty of other things, and also it focuses a lot on the news from Walt Disney World, because things at Disneyland don't really apply to us either, because we haven't been there and we don't have any imminent plans to go. So with that said, and for some of these, I do have some visual aids that I'm providing Eileen, because there are things that I saw, so I just went with. And if you're watching on YouTube or Spotify, I'll kind of add these into the mix so that we can, so that you have an idea of what we're looking at when we're referencing pictures. So the first one does not have a visual aid. The first thing that was mentioned, we're starting with movies and entertainment is what we'll start with. And the first one was, they're making another Ice Age movie. And this one is called Ice Age Boiling Point, and it will be in theaters in February 2027. And it's described as a dinosaur and lava-filled madcap adventure that takes Manny, Sid, Diago, Ellie, Scrat, and the rest of the herd to visit never-before-seen corners of the treacherous lost world. Now, I haven't seen really any Ice Age movie in its entirety since the original Ice Age.
I was about to say, I can't really make much of a comment on this because I haven't seen the Ice Age movies. First one I've seen a bunch of times, and
the first one I really like. Yes. I think that's a really good movie.
I feel like we may have watched another one, like some, night where we just threw something on, or maybe it was on TV, but I can't remember other ones. Or maybe I watched it at school.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, these are the kinds of things that, circulate quite a bit. And especially now that it's part of the Disney universe.
Well, that's what I was going to say, is I didn't even realize it was Disney.
Well, it wasn't originally. Disney acquired it. So, yeah. So that's where we are with that, is Disney's acquired this property and now they're making more of them. It's like one of those things that kind of seems like it's popular with somebody because they keep making them, and you've got these characters and these voice actors attached to them who aren't necessarily cheap. I mean, Ray Romano and company are well known. Queen Latifah,
right? They're real, like
Dennis
real
Leary,
names. Not small.
Big names. So somebody must be watching these because they keep making them. So. Moving on to something that we have watched, and this is quite honestly, well, we'll get into that part first later. But first off, it was announced that Toy Story. Now there are 3 pieces of Toy Story news. They're either movie or movie adjacent news items. The first is that in celebration of the 30th anniversary of Toy Story. So first of all, we're going to pause for a second and just absorb that knowledge. Okay.
I was about to say, I remember it was such a big deal. It was so, like, it was released on VHS probably shortly before Christmas. We got 2 copies of it that Christmas, and it was very exciting.
So for its 30th anniversary, it's going to be re-released in theaters starting September 12th.
Like just a couple weeks from, like a week from now?
Yeah.
That could be fun.
Well, I'm going to be gone to like September. I don't know how long the run is going to be. They've been doing this a lot with like short releases of the classic
Yeah.
movies. The last one that I really wanted to see and wasn't able to see was when Revenge of the Sith went back
Right.
into theaters. But yeah, it would. It seems like these.
Well, and Megan's at a good, like Megan would enjoy that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, if
Maybe
we can make
that's-
that happen.
Maybe that's something that we can work on. So something we are excited about fairly off the bat. Of course, it's about a movie that is 30 years old. And I really wonder how, you look at
How it will look on the big screen now.
I mean, some of the animation has not aged well, especially like the Andy's face. And
Well, let's find out.
Yeah.
I feel like we can't judge until we've seen.
That's true. All right. So the second thing is there will be a Buzz Lightyear balloon with a new design at the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade this year. Now, it's the first time that I think I read this right. That it's the first time that a Buzz Lightyear balloon will have appeared since 2013.
Oh, okay. I'm cool with that.
I-
I mean, I'm not going to watch. Yeah. Anyway, I don't think we need to spend a lot of time on that. That's cool.
Yeah,
But
I don't
still
think
probably
that.
won't watch the parade unless it's like a scan. Like,
Yeah, I don't understand how watching a parade on TV is appointment television for people. I barely understand going to watch parades in the first place.
I mean, we used to watch it all the time growing up, and it was fun. But it's not something that I'm like, I have to do.
Yeah, I've never understood it. I don't get it. So, all right. So moving on to the piece of news that involves our first visual aid. Pixar gave folks at Destination D23 a sneak peek at Toy Story 5, which is going to be in theaters in June of next year. And now they got to see the first 3 minutes of the movie. And it was the first time that they got to take a look at what you're looking at there, which is Smarty Pants, who is voiced by Conan O'Brien. So not a lot that you can glean from this. Is just some concept art that we had already seen, but it's basically Conan O'Brien plays this. It's a tablet.
It looks like.
And so the whole premise of it is essentially Smarty Pants has different ideas on what's best for Bonnie than the toys do. So there's some relevance here, I think, for this. But I don't know. First of all, you and I are pretty much in agreement that Toy Story 4 never should have happened.
No, they need to fix that.
But I mean, maybe this is how they fix it. But my other question here is how are you reuniting Woody in, to a lesser extent, Bo, if they're gone? Like how are you going to make that work without it being forced? So that's one.
I mean,
question.
Woody's not in that picture.
Well, that's true, but I feel like I saw that Tom Hanks is already signed on. It is signed on to the project, so he's part of it.
I mean, if Woody's not in it, I don't think it should exist. He was anyway. Well,
it's one of the main characters.
Yeah.
And
so maybe they're going to rectify what they did.
And you don't have to hold back on that. This is why we're talking about it. You don't have to hold back.
No, I mean, I don't really have anything to say. I've spoken about this in other podcasts, how I think that they completely ruined Toy Story 3, which had such a nice ending, especially for like us adults who really could relate to that. And then they made this Toy Story 4 where Woody went against everything he ever said and did. And it just really, really bothered me. And so I just hope they somehow rectify what they...
Yeah.
In essence, in my mind, they ruined that. That was awful. And I'm not saying it was a bad movie. Like, there were parts of the movie that I definitely enjoyed, but the ending was absolutely terrible.
Yeah, and I just think I don't know if it ruined Toy Story 3. I mean, I think that that's still a great movie in and of itself. I do think that it took some of the consequence away, which, so it didn't ruin the movie, but it does, take some of the gravity of like those moments away. So I do agree with you on that. Um, okay. On to something else. They also announced that there is going to be a new original animated comedy from Pixar called Hoppers. And so with Hoppers, which is going to be coming out in March of next year, it a lot of what I'm reading from, by the way, is either from the Disney Parks blog or from the Walt Disney Company's website. So it says in Hoppers, scientists discover how to hop human consciousness into lifelike robotic animals, allowing people to communicate with animals as animals. Now, the main character in this is Mabel, and I believe as we're looking at it, the littler one there is Mabel. So that's like the robot animal that Mabel is in. But using the technology, Mabel will uncover mysteries within the animal world that are beyond anything she could have imagined. Thoughts?
I don't know. I guess I have to see a little more of a preview. I
The premise is interesting.
I feel like they've just had a lot of misses lately,
Yeah.
and so I'm skeptical. And again, it goes against it's stop doing remakes, do original things, but their original things haven't been up to the par of what I am looking for. And I mean, we don't go to the movies a ton and we don't watch movies a ton with Meghan. So maybe from a kid's point of view, it might be a little bit different, but from like the adult perspective, I've seen some misses. So jury's still out.
I would agree with most of that. I think that, like I said, the premise is interesting. I just hope that one of the things that Pixar was able to do a lot well was take a few chances, especially like the early Pixar, and then they kind of fell into more formulaic stuff. So I hope that this is a dive back into some more interesting content. So another movie that we don't have a lot of information about at all, but is going to be a Walt Disney animation movie. Basically, at this point, we have just the logo and a little bit of information, but Disney's newest movie of the animated variety will be called Hexed. And so in the film, an awkward teenage boy and his type A mom. Now, what's type A? Is that someone who's
controlling
like really,
and
okay,
perfectionist?
all
and
right.
Yeah.
Discover that what makes him unusual might just be magical powers that will turn their lives and the secret world of magic upside down. I don't know. I feel like they're still grasping at this at this magic thing, and not doing it terribly successfully. Like, I thought Wish was an okay movie,
Right.
but I feel like this is still going along those same, and we know very, very little about this.
Right.
But
It's almost hard to say
I
anything.
almost get that. I'm not even sure what the time frame is when they're doing, like when this is set, but it's giving me Wish vibes. And I wish that they kind of do away with the one word titles. Like, you've been at that for a while. Maybe try to, spruce it up a little bit. Try to freshen it up a little bit.
Excuse me. Yeah, I guess especially like the one-word titles that aren't the name, like, Cinderella's a one-word title, but that works.
And I mean,
Aladdin's.
it worked beyond like Frozen and
That's
Tangled,
true.
and
That's true.
so it worked, but eventually that well runs dry, and I think that they're still trying to go to this well with this kind of story. I just hope that the animation ends up a little different. I think that that's gotten a little stale. Um, I hope that the story maybe has an opportunity to be a little fresher.
I think what they really need to do is find that character who you're gonna love and who you're gonna like, or even just like in Wish. I can't even remember her name, but she's not Asha. She's not a lovable character. Like, she's not a bad character, but she's not like.
They tried to make the star like the lovable character, and I didn't even completely understand what the purpose of the star was. There was a lot wrong with that movie. There was a lot that they had pieces of a good movie, but they never put it really together. The best thing that I thought about that movie was they did kind of incorporate a little bit of different animation in it, and they used a little bit more of the old style and melded it with the more computer style animation. So I guess the jury's out on this, but like you with Pixar, I'm skeptical here.
Yeah, and I think if you can find that character who people are gonna love, like, it's gonna be good. And I know that's hard because you could have a great movie, but if you don't have that character that people are gonna line up to meet and wait 45 minutes to meet, it's not gonna be. And I know that's like, hard to say, but
it's hard because you don't always know, who people are going to gravitate towards too, but no, that's a really good point that especially for a Disney movie, especially an animated movie, you really do have to have an affection for that lead character, not just like them, but really have a deeper feeling for them.
Yeah, and I think the last few movies, they haven't had that. They haven't been bad movies.
Do you think it's easier to do that if a kid is your main character as opposed to an adult?
Well, I mean, and I know you have your opinions on the movie, but like Anna and Elsa aren't adults. Or they are adults, or
yeah, I know,
pretty close to adults. I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
I was just thinking about a movie like Coco,
how Miguel is really like.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
And that's a movie that even if Miguel is a little bit older, I don't think that movie strikes the same chords to
that's a good point.
Use a pun. All right, so we also got a little bit more information about Zootopia 2. The biggest thing and the most recognizable thing for us is that they announced that Patrick Warburton will voice a character named Mayor Winddancer, who's a charismatic but clueless stallion who dreams of being as heroic in real life as the characters he once played on television. So Patrick Warburton, who you probably don't know the name, but he played, on top of everything else, the guy who does the welcome for Soren.
Oh yeah, you mentioned that. Like,
he's also he played Kronk in Emperor's New Groove, and he's had some other, if you saw him, you'd probably recognize him. There are probably some other things that I can't come up with off the top of my head that he's been in, but basically he's playing this movie star horse who gets elected mayor of Zootopia.
And so I'm guessing might not be the best of guys.
Well, it sounds like he's just more kind of dumb than anything.
Okay.
I don't think
So he may not be the bad guy, but people may use him to.
Right. Well, and one of the things that I liked about Zootopia too is good guys and bad guys. There were different levels of that because
Yeah,
Mayor, what was it, Mayor Lionheart
I think so.
wasn't necessarily a bad guy, but he did a bad thing in locking up those and trying to cover up the scandal by locking up those animals.
Yeah.
You know, so hopefully Zootopia 2 has that same kind of layers that the original had. So
I mean, I'm looking at this picture and his mane is very luscious looking.
he's a movie star. I
Yeah, no,
I more noticed the low cut, like, you know.
Yeah, no, that's
he's
what I'm
very,
kind of wondering if they're creating like a character people are going to have problems with. I don't know what his role will be, but I'm looking and, you know, the stallion you think of as like the strong, strapping stallion, and he's got long blonde hair and a low cut shirt. So I've got no problem with it, but I'm wondering, like, you know, I'm thinking some people we might be related to might look at that and be like, why do they have to make him look like that?
I don't understand what you're driving at.
I think that, I mean, he looks very glamorous.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think of movie stars. I guess.
Movie stars are very glamorous.
Yeah. I think it's the long blonde mane that's really, I'm like, that's.
I think they're going for kind of like a Fabio thing with that.
Yeah.
Who wasn't so much an actor as he was a model, but you know, he's also somebody who's, according to this, played heroic characters. So
Yeah. And I guess horses have manes, so it's not like, I don't know. I could just picture a couple of my aunts looking at the outfit and like rolling their eyes.
and I think that's maybe the point is like this guy's in love with himself. Like that's what I get from this. This is, you know, a very Fabio kind of guy who's, you know, sure to
He's all that.
show and wants
And a bag
to
of
show
chips.
off what is it, 1996 again?
Yeah, apparently. Probably like 2000. No, it was before 2000. Anyway.
All right. So the next one is, now they kind of gave us a little tease on the Mandalorian and Grogu. And this is much more of a visual thing because they said that they've just recently started recording this, or you know, shooting it. And so it's supposed to be ready in 2026. I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up getting pushed back. But if they're just getting underway now, but basically they teased the film, and you know they gave some imagery, and I was able to find some photos like from people who were in the building who took some of the pictures. Now, the first one is Grogu, the Mandalorian, and the guy next to him. Now, I'm excited for this one because that's a character named Zeb, and he's a character who was in Rebels, which was one of the animated shows. Yeah. And a lot of Ahsoka is based off of what happens previously in Rebels. He made a brief appearance. I think it was in the last season of The Mandalorian. And I was excited, like, just to catch a glimpse of him, but it's possible that he'll have a larger role here. So I'm excited about that. We have well, though they're not AT-ATs. I'm not sure what kind, but similar to those, on a snowy planet, which looks just cool. So, and then Sigourney Weaver's in this movie. So they're adding another iconic actor to this, and she plays someone from the New Republic, like a leader in the New Republic. Also, these little droids that are around, you can also find those at Walt Disney World now. So just a cool little thing. So with this movie, I've constantly been wondering what the story is going to be, and so that's what I'm really waiting for, is more information on what is going to be happening here, because I feel like they told the story at this point,
Right.
So
Is it gonna take place after the story, or do you think
yes.
it's okay? So it's not gonna go like possibly fill in like, between seasons where there could have, how they've gone back and done stuff
No, yeah, I think that this is going to be a
post.
follow-up. Yeah, like instead of doing another season.
It's
of The
obviously not
Mandalorian.
pre, because in that picture, like there was Grogu and Mando, so
Right.
they're already together. But yeah, no, I just wasn't sure on that.
Yeah, so it's just like, what is the hook here? What more do these two characters need to accomplish? Or is this just like, hey, we're grabbing at some more money?
I was about to
And
say,
I really hope it's not that, because I really enjoy these characters, and I enjoyed a good part of the story. There were some parts that I was just like, all right, you could
move it
definitely
along. Yeah.
done without this. But in general, especially the first two seasons, I really, really loved the Mandalorian. So I just hope that this is something that, and I mean, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are basically the brainchilds behind this, and they've been behind the Mandalorian as as a standalone in the first place, and they've had a lot of other successes too, so I don't have any reason to necessarily doubt them. I guess I wish that I had more information at this point.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I think there's probably a little bit of both. Is there probably like, yes, these are super marketable characters, and like, I mean, our daughter's obsessed with Baby Yoda,
And
and
she's
she's
never
never
seen
seen
him
an
in it.
episode.
Yeah.
So I think there's a little bit of that. So I'm just gonna hopefully trust that while that might have been the initiation for it, that they could make a good story.
So the last thing here is, we've enjoyed some of the history of Disney and such that they've put on Disney Plus. Like the Behind the Attraction is one that we really enjoyed. There's going to be a new documentary titled Disneyland Handcrafted, and this is going to be produced or directed by Leslie Iwerks. Now, Leslie Iwerks is the granddaughter of Iwerks, who was one of the original creators. He created like Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's in a book I have.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is someone who has deep ties to Disney. Her father is also a Disney legend. And so basically this film is basically documenting through some archived footage and through things that people haven't seen before, the development of Disneyland from Orange Grove to becoming like the.
And it's a film.
It's going to be on Disney Plus. It's a documentary.
Yeah, no.
It's not going to be a series like.
Yeah.
I
guess it'll depend on the length of it, like. But yeah, I guess that could be interesting.
I'm very interested in this, especially from the standpoint of somebody who has some experience, not only a lot of experience with the Disney company, but also experience as a filmmaker and documentarian. So I'm very interested to see this. There is going to be that you can kind of like get a taste for what it is right now on YouTube.
Okay.
So if you're interested in looking into it a little more to kind of get the feel as to what it's going to be about, you can find it on YouTube. But then the documentary is going to be on Disney Plus, and I think they're going to put that on YouTube as well. So that's one that I was excited about as well. It's not the typical entertainment that you'd find.
I
but-
want them to do another Animal Kingdom one. That was probably my favorite.
Yeah.
Remember they went like
Mhm.
anyway.
I would even love another season of Behind the Attraction.
Yes, that would be great.
They're also going to be doing more, I know, with we call it Imagineering, which was a YouTube series that they did, which was how I believe that was part of the series where we got the first looks at like the making of Tianas and things like that. So Disney's done a really good job with documenting their own history. So I'm excited to see another part of this. I think that I'm also fascinated with Disneyland at this point too, because it is like that great unknown, and I've known enough people at this point who have been there that I'm trying to know as much about it as I can without actually being there. So,
and I guess I look at it the opposite. And while I'm sure we'll watch it, like when I'm watching those, I can connect much better when I have been there.
Sure. No, yeah, I can get that. Okay, now moving on to park news, and specifically park news from a park that we can get to, though we're not getting there for a little while. But there's also some news on the thing that is going to be keeping us from getting there in the Disney Destiny here too, but that's a little bit later. So the first part of the park news is, and this is also movie related, so I connected the two a little bit. So there's a new Tron movie that's coming out called Tron Ares. And to go along with that, the movie is coming out October 10th. So they are going to put together a new overlay. And with this overlay, basically they're going to be replacing the blue with red and orange. And they're also going to be adding a new soundtrack to it. That's going to be composed by Nine Inch Nails, who is doing the score for this new movie.
Okay.
So now the odds that we're going to be able to see this are slim.
Yeah.
Now I don't know how long they're going to keep that overlay. Some of it could be based off of
the success of the movie, or
I really doubt the movie's going to be all that successful because the other ones really haven't been. I mean, I don't think they've made a lot of money, but more response from
people,
from park goers. I think that will have more to do with it than And honestly, they may want to keep the ride most relevant to the most recent movie, unless to your point, the movie totally bombs. If the movie totally bombs, they'll probably want to distance themselves from it as quickly as possible. But these movies, this is a franchise that I don't really understand why they keep going to this well. I don't think you've ever seen the original Tron. I haven't seen it in forever. But basically, the special effects for the time in which the movie was made were great. The movie itself is not good. I've heard that the subsequent movie was good. I haven't heard anybody say that it was a great movie. So then, investing more in it seems odd. But I guess when you've built a gigantic roller coaster on 2 continents,
that's very popular.
Kind of a lightning rod, though. Some people really don't like it. They think it's too short.
Well, yeah, but I don't think anyone ever said it's a bad ride. They just say it's way too short for the amount of time you wait.
Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, so I find the whole Tron fixation with Disney interesting in and of itself. I think it looks cool.
Yeah.
But you know, um, I also don't know I don't know enough about the premise to understand why it's red, but that's what it is. All right. So the next thing is during a panel, they announced that they're going to make some changes to the Carousel of Progress at Magic Kingdom, including its own Walt Disney audio animatronic.
I think that could be cool. But again, as I've said, I've never actually seen Carousel of Progress, so I'm not sure that that's enough to make me go do it. The one time that I was going to do it was a really, really, I think it was a hot, hot day. And the line was like 40 minutes. And I was just like, nope.
See, to me, this is brilliant. I mean, because most of the time this thing's a walk on. Now you're taking something while maintaining one of the original, concepts, even, predating Walt Disney World, and updating it in such a way that's going to draw a crowd while still, honoring and maintaining the original purpose and premise of the ride. So I think it's, from that standpoint, I think it's brilliant. I know that some people have criticized the way that the audio animatronic in Disneyland looks. I think the bigger concern is that it's reportedly broken down a lot. So I think that would be my biggest concern. I'm reserving judgment on how it looks, because from what I've heard and from what I understand, it looks better in person in Disneyland than it does
like in
on
pictures
video.
and
It doesn't translate, well.
I mean, that makes sense.
Also, I think that some people have unrealistic expectations about what
technology can actually do,
and that can draw the question, well, should you have done it then? And that's a fair question, but overall, I'm fascinated by this, and it's super interesting that, I mean, outside of the Hall of Presidents and Mr. Lincoln at Disneyland, there aren't really animatronics of real people,
Yeah. I mean, you've got to do that the right way.
So, it adds a challenge when you're doing that versus like either an audio animatronic of a animated character, or of, like, you look at the one from Smuggler's Run, and you've got Hondo there, who's sending you on the mission. Yes, they made him look lifelike, but that's also an animated character. But they made him look lifelike. But if he doesn't look completely lifelike, it's okay because
he's not a
an
real
alien,
person.
So, yeah. So, one thing that was interesting that came out of this is there's a animator by the name of Andreas Deha, who was the animator for the villains for like Beauty and the Beast. He animated Gaston, he animated Jafar, and he animated Scar, and he's been consulting on the new Villains Land.
Oh, fun.
And one of the things that they've been doing is they've been going around Europe, and they're trying to take concepts from like the Art Nouveau style in Europe, and like the thorny gates and
I was going to
things
say
like
that
that.
reminds me of Maleficent.
And they're incorporating parts of that with parts of fantasy, like to design this park. So I think this is interesting from a couple of perspectives. One perspective is, we're going to Europe next year, and we'll be in Paris, where we'll see some of this architecture just around. So we'll have a, I mean, I've seen it before, but it's been years since I've seen it. So getting an appreciation for what they're actually going around and seeing and taking away. And also, this is kind of a window into where this is going and how they're going to design this. This isn't going to be a cartoony kind of thing, I don't think.
Yeah, no, I mean, if that's the case, then I think that'll be very, very interesting. And I mean, most of their lands aren't super cartoony. They try to make it like have an authentic feel to it. Like even Fantasyland's not really that cartoony.
That's true.
But
yeah.
But yeah, they're doing some good research, and
I do think, this being a villain's land, it's going to have some hard edges to it. It's not going to be too much. They're not going to go full
because they don't want a 2-year-old to completely freak out. Otherwise,
right.
Otherwise, the entire family can't go.
But I think that this may be an area where, people who go would tell other people, consider your kid when you're determining whether this is something you want to do or not. Let's see. So, something that, speaking of being in Europe, Imagineers announced that the World of Frozen at Disneyland Paris will be opening in spring 2026. We are obviously going to be going to Disneyland Paris in summer of 2026. So the odds that this is going to be still quite an attraction are pretty high. But it's also, they're taking that. So Disneyland Paris does have 2 parks. It's got the regular, Disneyland Paris, and it's got what they call Walt Disney Studios Park. Okay. And they're changing that into Disney Adventure World. And this is the first piece that's opening up, the new branding of Disney Adventure World. And eventually that's where the Lion King ride, the Flume ride, is going to go, and things like that. So this is going to have a couple of rides, and it's going to have Frozen Ever After, which is the boat ride, obviously. And it's going to have a family-friendly roller coaster called Wandering Oaken's Sliding Sleighs. So I grabbed a couple of screenshots from they had a video that showed, and you can see in the background of this video, there's the Arendelle town.
Yeah.
And then, up in the mountain, there's the castle, and there Elsa's ice castle. And that's what they're kind of finishing up right now. And you can actually see in this photo right there a little bit of track for
the coaster must go through there.
So I'm hoping that this is something that we'll be able to experience. We're only going to have a short amount of time at Disneyland Paris because we are experiencing Paris as well. And then we've got to hop a plane to experience Ireland after that. But this is intriguing to me. I mean, we've seen a little bit of Frozen at Epcot, as part of
but to have pavilion. Their own area,
right?
I mean, it makes sense. Yeah, I mean, it totally makes sense. The move,
I'm a little disappointed. I mean, I understand why. I'm a little disappointed that they're redoing Frozen Ever After. Maybe they'll do it with some new.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I wonder if it will be slightly different over there, especially because Frozen Ever After for us was built on the Maelstrom.
Yeah.
So maybe there'll be a few things different. I mean, but it sounds like that's going to tell the story of Frozen. I'm curious if there'll be any updates with Frozen 2 too. You know.
All right. And the last bit of park news that I have is they announced that they're going to have a new color palette for Cinderella Castle. It's going to go to more of the classic design that it had before, which was a lot of grays and creams, to kind of make the blue pop, and it's going to have gold accents, on the spires and things like that. I look at this and looks a lot like the castle when I was a kid. I didn't see the castle when it was a birthday cake or anything like that. I also wonder too if going to this simpler design also means that they're
going back to the Christmas lights.
Yes.
Then I would have to go down at Christmas time again. Because, like, that's the one thing, and we went during COVID. So there was a lot of stuff that didn't happen. But we, that year, attributed it to the fact that it was COVID and but they never brought him back. So that would be amazing. Then we would.
But, and, I don't think that there's a current timeline for this either. I don't know when it's going to happen. I'm honestly hoping that it happens over the next year when we're not there, so we're not looking at the crane and dealing with that kind of stuff. That's always kind of a little bit of a bummer whenever they do these it's necessary, but it's also a little bit of a bummer. I also feel it feels a little weird because I feel like they just got rid of the cranes and now there's going to be a crane again, but I guess they got enough feedback on that.
I guess we should plan to have a pandemic again.
Let's not. Let's really not.
But remember I joked that Disney created it because they didn't want, because like the castle painting happened during the pandemic and they had just started it when everything shut down, and I totally, I don't want a pandemic again. But I joked because it was like, oh, there's a pandemic. So Disney shuts down so no one has to see the cranes.
All right. So there were a couple of things from the Disney Destiny, and one of them was they had a panel about Disney food, drinks. And they did a little preview of some of the themed drinks that are going to be in the lounges on the Disney Destiny. One of them is inspired by a Marvel movie, Doctor Strange. It's there's a lounge that's going to be the Sanctum, and the drink is called the Mirror Dimension. And it just looks really cool, like glowing, like yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, it looks really cool.
I don't know anything about what's in it, but it looks awesome. And then that's the big thing about like Disney drinks. If you're looking for like a drink, don't go to Disney. Like, I mean, I'm sure you can find
but don't go for the fun, showy drinks.
Right. Like a lot of the drinks that it's all about the presentation. And for me, who's not a big, alcohol drinker, sticking more
of
to
hard
beer.
Alcohol.
Well, I specified alcohol versus beer. Those are the things that I'm going to gravitate towards. So that one is just like, and I'm sure that it's just like there's some lighting in the glass or whatever, but it's a glowing drink. And then one of the other ones is from the Haunted Mansion parlor, which is going to be on the ship. And that's called My Way, which is like this smoking kind of like bubbling looking drink. Smoking and bubbling seems to be one of the things that they're really good at. And they like to do. And you're seeing it more often. There's going to be a smoking drink at the Big E this year.
Oh yeah,
from
that's right.
From V1 Vodka, which was actually pretty good. If you like pomegranate, it's pretty good. But that's
I was going to say that has nothing to do with the Destiny.
You can listen to the upcoming podcast I have for work coming up. You can search for So That Reminds Me. And next Friday, that episode will be coming out. We'll be talking about a lot of different drinks and foods that we got to do at the media party. So someday I hope to be able to sneak into a Disney media preview. That would be awesome.
Better be your photographer.
It's probably never happening, but one can hope. There's also going to be the Cask and Cannon, which is at basically inspired by Pirates of the Caribbean. And they also have a specialty drink that they showed there that I do not have a picture of. But one thing that we basically went to the same lounge.
We did,
on the Wish.
It was one that we found like good beer at, and
Right.
that was
Yeah.
kind of what we were looking for at that point in time.
Yeah. Maybe
So-
this time we'll be a little more adventurous.
Yeah, no, I mean, we'll have 2 sea days too, so that'll be that'll allow us to explore the ship a little bit more and maybe do a little more on the ship, which I think we did a decent amount on the Wish, but like I've seen things I'm like, oh, I didn't know that was there. Oh, we didn't do that. So
and
Meghan can stay up later.
That's true.
I think that will be, she stayed up plenty late on that cruise, but we still didn't want her to stay up too late because we didn't want the next day to be miserable. But I think by then we'll be good for like at least an extra hour in the evenings.
At least.
Yeah. She was up probably till 9-ish most nights on that, but especially a day where we've got sea the next day,
Yeah.
And we're not in as much of a rush, I think we can relax a little bit.
All right, and the last thing is there will be a new meet and play character encounter with Dr. Facilier on the Destiny. And I'm quoting here. It says, "The cunningly charming illusionist may be lurking around the upper levels of the Grand Hall or in his own makeshift parlor, inviting guests in for a card trick or sleight of hand." So
he might be doing magic tricks in different places.
illusions. So that sounds cool as well. One good thing about all of this, especially the Disney Destiny, is we may know a person or two who's already been on there who can kind of give us the lay of the land
when we
go.
Yeah.
And that, of course,
oh man, that's where
includes
you're going. Okay, go ahead.
Emily from We Do Travel Right.
And I believe she's going to be on it before we are.
And she's going to be
on it with us
on our cruise. And that's the great thing about We Do Travel Right, is they take the time to experience all of the things that they're helping you book. Emily says herself, she says, I book Walt Disney World and Disney Cruise Line because those are the things that I'm an expert at. But otherwise,
they have experts in different areas
everywhere. And so you will be hooked up with someone who will be able to help you design the trip that you want, and where you want it.
Well, and especially for us on this upcoming cruise, it will only have been sailing for about 3 months.
That's true.
So we're not going to be able to read a million things and get so many different points of view. So knowing someone who's actually done it ahead of us is going to be extra important for this.
And knowing that person is helping us, plan the vacation is just an added bonus. You can have a million people who say, oh, you should do this, you should do this. But when you have that person who is helping you, who knows you, who gets to know you and can help you craft that perfect vacation for you and your family, especially when they have the power of teams behind them, it's all great.
And they'll do their best to either stay up until midnight when certain reservations can be made, or get up at like 6 a.m. when other reservations can be made so that we don't have to do it.
Exactly.
Because I remember that for the last cruise, there was something we had to do, and we had to do it it opened at midnight.
Was it the excursion?
It might have been the excursion.
Either way.
Might have been Royal Gathering. I don't remember. Either way, whatever it was, opened at midnight, and it was a school night. And there was no way in a million years that would have been able to happen. But the team made it happen. They
And
stayed up for us.
they stayed up for us. And the best thing about all of the stuff that they can do for you, it's free.
So then you can spend all your money on excursions and drinks and well, on the cruise, not food, but and all the other fun stuff.
And you may be wondering how it can possibly be free if it's as great as we're saying that it is.
Well, I don't think anyone who's listened to your podcast is wondering because you tell them every week.
Well, there might be new listeners, so we've got to let them know. It's because Disney or cruise lines or Universal or all-inclusives, they pay We Do Travel Right for you because they build the cost of an agent into their pricing. So you're paying for the agent already. So doesn't it make sense to just use the agent? She's nodding. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was just thinking about unrelated to anything.
She was trying to figure out how she can talk to Emily about booking us a Walt Disney World trip in addition to our current planned trips.
No, I was
well, and the great thing
looking at something from.
Well, and the great thing about that is you can get a free quote. Obligation free.
Tell me how to get a free quote.
So
We've gotten ours and then we booked it.
Well,
but you don't have to book it.
If you want to just explore and see if it's something that you can do or you want to pursue, you can go to wedotravelright.com/Mazza. That's wedotravelright.com/MAZA and fill out the form and somebody will be in contact with you. Maybe they'll want a little bit more information so that they can help give you an idea and give you a quote as to, what might work for you and your family. So again, that's wedotravelright.com/Mazza to get your next magical vacation started today.
And maybe you can even join us on the Destiny.
Ooh.
Dun, dun, dun.
Now I can't do any more damage around this popsicle stand.
So long, partner.
See you real soon.
Well, thank you for joining me for this episode of the Mazza's Musings podcast. And thank you to Eileen for joining me to dig through some of the details of Destination D23. Now, of course, we only talked about the things that were of real importance to us, things that we focus on, which is primarily, like we said, Walt Disney World. We talked a little Disney Destiny. And we talked a lot about the entertainment, but there were some other things that came out of this. There's also some great panels that had some great insight onto things that weren't necessarily announcements. So I encourage you to check out, basically either the Walt Disney Company website or the Disney Parks blog, for instance. And there's a lot of other great stuff that is on those and links to all kinds of things. And also, one other thing is next week, our episode is going to be with Tom and Michelle from the Hyperion Adventures podcast, who were at Destination D23. So they'll be talking a little bit more about some of the experiences there. So we'll be rounding out our D23 exploration with a little bit of that. So I'm really excited to have them on. We've got a few other things to talk about too, but awesome to have them come on the podcast again. Tom has been on a couple of times. Tom and Michelle were both on once when I did the Run Disney episode. And it's just a blast anytime that we can have one or both of them on. And if you are not listening to the Hyperion Adventures podcast, I really recommend it. In the meantime, if you are someone who's interested in connecting with me and this podcast, you can do that by going to social media. I'm at Facebook at the Mazza's Musings podcast. I'm also on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads at Mazza's Musings pod. Yes, I called it Twitter, not X. Call it whatever you'd like. I'm also on Blue Sky, and we have a YouTube channel, so be sure to check that out and subscribe. You can also find more information about this podcast and things like past episodes on our website, mazasmusings.wordpress.com. You'll also find ways to connect there, including a way to email us. And you can also connect through the newsletter. Now, when you subscribe to the newsletter, it gets sent to you in your inbox once a week. And it just has information about things you might have missed, things that are coming up, and other news and information that we think you would find interesting. And a lot of times that is contests and sweepstakes and other things like that. So if you're interested in the same things that we're interested in here at the Maz's Musings podcast, go ahead and subscribe. Now, a lot of times word of mouth is the best way to let people know about this podcast and help us grow this community that we're kind of building here. But another way that really helps us out is if you leave a rating and a review on your favorite podcatcher, whether you are on a service that does 5 stars or thumbs up or whatever it is. Those positive results help bump us up in the algorithms that make us more visible and easier for people to discover us. So we'd very much appreciate it if you gave us a rating or review. And if you're looking to bump up your support just a little bit more, you can buy us a blue milk. And the link to that is right on our website. And buying us blue milk is a way that you can help support us with the small monetary costs that go into putting this podcast together. And whether you are buying us blue milk or listening to the podcast or anything in between, I certainly appreciate all of the support. And as always, I hope you have a great weekend and a great week. Music for the Maz's Musings podcast is brought to you by Hi Dad Soup. Check them out at Mickey and Minutes on Instagram.